Hi everyone, some gamer dude here. I'd already recorded this video, but I didn't have the microphone on, so I'm a little bit annoyed by that. If that's why I'm going a little bit fast, because I want to get this video over and done with. I had a lot of problems recording, so finding out that I didn't actually record it kind of pissed me off. Anyway, this morning iSpy put up 2 articles regarding the new cluster, the Duel Cluster starting next month. This is covering new mechanics, lore, and rotation. Won't bother talking about rotation, I assume you already know. The lore is interesting because it references another game. I'll lightly go over that, and we'll just go over the mechanics mostly and the cards that have been shown off thus far. So let's just start with prologue to the Duel Cluster, of the Duel Cluster. I also won't be editing this very much. While Faria and the others were heading into the demonic world to fight, a new threat to Re-Earth was arising. New Valhalla was still in a stalemate, and Loki was looking for a new place to fight, and her target was Re-Earth, reincarnated by the power of Zeus, Cogia's time spinning. Re-Earth is also the source of Alice's and Cogia's power, and Loki's goal is to absorb that power. When the demonic world is liberated by Faria and her team, Loki does not help Satan, but instigates Shiva to attack Re-Earth. However, Aburazuki notices Loki's plot and tries to stop it with Nyarlathotep's help. The ultimate battle between high gods begins, involving tales and villains from all dimensions. In this story, Shiva's world and Re-Earth, Zeus's world, clash, but Ma'at, Nyarlathotep's world, and formerly Artem's world, intervenes, forcing all involved parties to duel in an arena of Ma'at, where Nyarlathotep now rules as Game Master. Tales and villains begin their duels under the strict rules of Nyarlathotep's world. Duelists can't participate in the battle directly, but can use their Order Revolution ability to lend their power to the Resonators they're commanding to fight for them. If you haven't caught on, this feels like one big Yu-Gi-Oh reference. It's a tournament arc, it's drawing everyone together, it feels like Battle City. They're controlling the other Resonators directly, which kind of feels like a Vanguard type deal. Artem specifically, as in Artem, which at least in English is pretty much pronounced the same, the Pharaoh from Yu-Gi-Oh! And in foreign previews, Nyarlathotep was basically called the Queen of Games or something along those lines. It feels like a very direct Yu-Gi-Oh! Reference. And to be quite frank, while I'm not typically interested in the lore, I'd actually like to see where this goes. I'd like to see something playful with it, like maybe the characters play Force of Will in the cards, some variant of dual discs. I'd like to go complete hammy so it's at least fun. I don't think straight up tournament arc is going to be interesting, but if they had fun with it, or at least brought characters in that we haven't seen before, or haven't seen get rulers for a while, like Alice, who's been mentioned, I think that could be interesting. There's a lot they could do here. I'm curious on where it goes. Again, not a big lore guy, but I'll keep up to date with it. From here, let's just move on to the cards. New card type Order and keyword ability Revolution Order. We'll pull up Nyarlathotep in a little bit. The above card is the new ruler card from the starter deck, Tails deck, and we will use this card to introduce the new mechanism. I kept wanting to say mechanic. In English, the normal word would be mechanic here. Duel Cluster introduces a new system where the rulers have no J-ruler side and can't do judgment, but are flipped to their order side with a new ability called Revolution Order. Any resonated card can be ordered as it is played, by using the Revolution Order ability of a new ruler. A resonator spell played this way cannot be chased by players, it cannot be cancelled in any way, or moved to another zone other than the field. And it shows doing it there. Technically that's not right, but most people will do it just because it's easier. When it resolves, the ordered card will become a J-ruler with a play cost as it enters the field and stops being a resonator. From both the artwork and story they mean lore, It can be seen as rulers possessing their ordered resonators. Also, as the ordered card resolves, the ruler card ordering it will be flipped to its order side, moving into that player's order area, a new zone similar to the ruler area. Some order cards let the ordered card gain new abilities, which cannot be removed or lost in any way. Order Revolution can be used anytime you play a resonator, including your opponent's turn when ordering a resonator with quick cast, but only once per turn. Order cards are not entities, they don't have attributes, they don't go into astral. If the ordered card leaves the play in any way, leaves the field in any way, the ordered card ordering it will be moved to the ruler area as a ruler and is now ready to order the next resonator. This will be a new rule process in the CR. Some of the new resonators in this cluster will have revolution abilities that will become active as long as the card is ordered. But also, any resonator card printed in previous clusters can be ordered, making it a very versatile mechanic. We'll talk about that. This is a new card with it. We'll get to that in a second. I just want to point out this. This card will only be available in the Tails deck and will not appear in the booster pack, so please purchase the starter deck. I just mentioned that because they seem like they're very proud of this card. That's why they're showing it off. And they want you to want it so that you buy the deck, because we've heard that the decks don't really have that many unique cards. I think this is basically it. So them going, hey, this card, want it, need it, play it. That's interesting. Interesting that pushes, especially when we get to the card itself. So here's Nyarlathotep. Nyarlathotep, Game Master. The order card is Order of the Game. I keep thinking of Triple H. That's probably not the right person to think of when looking at her. Tails, you cannot have cards with villains in your deck or Magic Stone deck. That's the second article. You can basically infer what that means from that. Revolution Order just explains the same thing. Force Command Chaos. Chaos applies all Force Resonance Chaos abilities of cards you control in all zones. That's another effect more explained in the other card, but it tells you what it does there. This is actually something I want to point out. The ruler doesn't actually do anything. It has an ability to turn a resonator into a J ruler. Okay. It activates the abilities of all cards that are basically tied to it. Okay. That's all it does. It doesn't set off anything more directly. It doesn't plus you. At least not directly. It doesn't do anything. It's the cards that interact with it that do something. So the ordered card, it's mostly just what we've already seen. Force Command Chaos, so you don't lose that. The ordered card gains +X, where X is the number of Magic Stones you control. That'll actually become relevant for our other card. And this is also interesting. You may call a Magic Stone while the ordered card is rested, and calling a Magic Stone does not cause the ordered card to rest. So, you can always call a stone with these. You never lose the ability to call a stone, unlike a J ruler where you have to choose between attacking and calling a stone. They don't mention calling a stone in the order thing, so I think on the same turn you can tap your ruler, call a stone, and then flip it into the order card. They never mention not being able to do that. My main concern about these cards is because it doesn't actually do anything and it just interacts with other cards, and we'll get to those other cards in a minute. I actually don't think it's as strong as it looks. I don't even think it looks strong. Not that it looks bad. I don't think it looks bad. Please don't take that away from that statement. All I'm saying is all you're actually getting is a bunch of effects unlocked, which we'll get to those. I don't think they're that impressive in terms of current meta. And resonators can now avoid resonator destruction because they'll only be susceptible to J ruler destruction. But we have a lot of cards that hit J resonators or just any target now, so I don't even think that's a big deal. I don't think the cards really do much of all except be fun, which I kind of like. I know a lot of people are pissy in my groups. I don't mean that offensively, but you are upset about this stuff, that oh, it's creating J rulers with imperishable every single turn. I don't really see the problem with it, to be honest. Again, the ruler side isn't doing anything. The J ruler side is largely dependent on what the resonator in question is. And given the current destruction, I don't think killing off a J ruler is all that hard. So I'm not seeing a reason to be upset. I actually, to me, this looks like something from the cards we've seen. It looks closer to Alice Origins than it does Saga. I actually think these cards are more in line with Alice Origins than they are Saga 1. I think they're weaker. And I like that because I wanted power to go down. Now, there is something of a recurring pattern where set 1s are much weaker than set 2. Set 3 is super strong, and then set 4 is about the same as 2 or somewhere around that. Except last cluster where 3 was arguably weaker than 2 and 4 and stronger than 1. But maybe these will get much, much stronger cards later on, but this has to compete with Tag, and I'm not really seeing it having the ability to do so. I think Tag looks much stronger, honestly. I think the 3-color rulers are going to be very interesting in, what's it called? Epic Stories, because you could have 4 or 5 colors in there. I mean, the Thotep only needs a green water character to pair up with to have access to all 5 colors, making that format kind of move. But yeah, I just don't see it as super strong to me. I think it looks fine. I actually like the power level. So we'll go to the actual card. This is Lovecraft, Dragon of the Gods. I'm surprised I just named it Lovecraft. Sorry, Dragon of Chaos, not Gods. 4 cost, 3 fire and 1. Tails, flying, banish and magic stone. Destroy the J Resonator blocking this card, which that's actually a fair cost for what it's doing. I think that's fair. I think that actually looks pretty good. Now, 18 for the 4 is a bit, but it does average out to 22 stats. I'm sorry, 2200 total stats, and it's like most 4-drops have 1,000, so 22. It's like it dies to most pings. To be honest, it's really the equivalent of a 10-2 in Magic. Honestly, around that stats. Even with Nyarlathotep, it only goes up to a 22-8. But speaking of Nyarlathotep powering this up, enter this card deals damage equal to its attack to target player or J Resonator, and end of turn destroy this card. You can just nuke half your opponent's life with this card. It's actually a really good game ender in that respect. It'll just clear if your opponent is down to 2200 around turn 4. Just bring this out via order, or they might not want to destroy something you ordered earlier and just let it live only because they don't want you to use this guy. But still, it's gonna the whole Banish a Magic Stone, destroy a J Resonator blocking this card. There's only so long you can do that. Yeah, it's 18 to the face, but it's only 400 defense there. Oh, and at the end of turn it kills itself. So if you have Revolution, it's gonna kill itself anyway if they can prevent the damage, or it's not lethal or whatever. But I don't think it's terribly out of line. I don't think there's the 2200 burn spell for 4 is a bit eyebrow raising, but I don't think it's all that bad. Not really. Not with how things currently stand. Not it doesn't really look like there can be much to make it easier to cast. At least not what I can think of offhand. Just saying, I don't see it as that big of an issue. He's fine. Again, this feels more like something from Alice Origins to me. It doesn't even feel like a Saga card. Now again, it is a starter deck card. Maybe the cards later on are much stronger. The cards we've seen from the set do a little bit more, but I don't think they're completely out of the realm of reasonable amounts of things to do. And again, they point this card out as being in the starter deck. You got to buy the starter deck to get this card. We're trying to sell you the starter deck with this card. They're proud of it. They're using it as a sales point. They would not use a sales point for a crap and weak card, at least within the context of the surrounding set. Yeah, it's a Timmy card, but I don't think it's terribly weak. I'm just saying. I think this card's fine. So we start the next article basically explaining stuff we've already more or less seen. Force Command and Force Resonance. Today we'll introduce new keywords. First, let us introduce the new ruler from the Villains deck, which is Odin God of War / Order of War. We'll look at that in a minute. Also, 3 colors. Sorry, epic stories. I think when Loki comes out, it's going to be you'll be able to do all 5 colors with 2 rulers. Force Command is a unique ability of the new rulers. As long as you control the Force Command, as long as you control a ruler with Force Command mechanic, cards with Force Resonance mechanic will gain those abilities in all zones. Let us use some new cards to explain the mechanic further. So I think it's this one. Yep. Light and 2, Repeating Faith Revival, chant. Put target Light Resonator or Light Alternative card from your graveyard into the field. You may only put a Light Resonator part of an alternative card into the field. I'd be curious to see if we see more alternative cards. Force Resonance Faith only works if you have Force Command Faith. Players cannot chase this card. Put this card in its owner's hand as it resolves. Basically what I see with this card is if you have cards to pitch big Light Resonators, which you have those big Light Resonators. We'll see if you have the pitch abilities to do it. You can revive them for 3 and you don't lose a card. You actually gain a card overall, which again, I don't really see as all that. It's like, yeah, that's pretty potent. That's pretty good, but there's a lot of effort going into it. You have to have 2 ignition switches, maybe 3. Because the thing to pitch it, and then this, you have to use a specific ruler. And your ruler's still not doing anything. I'm just saying. Yeah, it's fine to me. Oh, and actually, we'll look at Odin now. Odin's basically the exact same as Nyarlathotep, except Force Command Faith. And the ordered card gains +2/+2 Pierce. Exact same card. And we're going back to these slightly altered images. Which is interesting. Trying to save a bit of money. Which is weird because I heard the last set did really, really well. So did Saga 2. If you control Odin, you get Force Resonance Faith. This ability shows the unique ability of the different high gods. Due to the diverse attributes and characteristics of the different rulers, there will be significant differences to Force Command as well. Tales and Villains. This is, again, we could have put this together from the Nyarlathotep card. In the story of this cluster, the characters are divided into 2 camps, Tales and Villains. This is also very similar to older games that have, particularly fighting games, that have used heroes and villains, faces and heels, factions, etc., etc. Between Ruler Area deck and Magic Stone deck, players will only be allowed to use one of these 2 keywords, similar to Will of Despair and Will of Hope. I think that's the end of Lapis Cluster, isn't it? So including a card with Tails prevents the player from using cards with villains and vice versa. This rule does not apply to the sideboard, which may contain cards with Tails and cards with villains, because when you side into them, you're only allowed to have the one in the deck. So basically, if the amount of cards you have with heroes is 15 total, you can slide all of them into villains cards. And we're probably going to get a ruler later on that can switch between them, or I think that'd be a choice they'd have. And they're probably going to have hate for heroes and hate for villains, cards that only interact with heroes and villains, etc., etc. The Tales camp are characters connected to Re-Earth, such as Nyarlathotep and Cogia. They're the rulers for this set, and considering she was mentioned, I think Alice is going to turn up. I'd bet on it. The villains camp includes Loki, Shiva, and other characters involved with the enemies in Valhalla. The other character I'm interested in there is Shiva. So I'm going to guess Shiva and Alice are set 2. Cards with tails or villains will have their respective symbols shown on their card, like the faction cards for Magic the Gathering, the ones in, what's that set called? Ravnica. If you have tails or villains, there will be a symbol behind the card ability, which, as you can see there. Card preview starts tomorrow, so stay tuned, and that's just a bunch of rotation stuff. I'm pretty sure you already know that. And this is this Gary and Frecky Grady Wolves. I think they're Odin's Wolves. It's a 5 cost with 3 light. Villains. And to remove target non-magic stone, non-J-roller entity from your opponent's control from the game, and when this card is put into the graveyard, do the same thing. And it's a 13-13 for 5, which is, again, fine. It feels like the power curve is going down there, to be honest. Feels much weaker, but again, it's a starter deck card. So, just saying, it might be deliberately weak to improve the starter deck experience. Next up we have Cogia enters the game of gods. It's a 1 wind will chant. Choose 1, put a wind moon edition token onto the field, draw a card, so we know that she works with moons, maybe token generation. Target entity you control gains barrier until end of turn, draw a card. That's this doesn't have quick cast, does it? Well, that's actually a really bad effect. For this type of card, it's actually really weird that it doesn't have quick cast. Actually, for everyone going, quick cast. This is actually a card that could have used quick cast. Because Force Resonance, Moon, you may destroy all moons you control. This card deals 500 damage multiplied by the number of moons destroyed this way to target player or J Resonator. Player. If you have another amount of moons to nuke your opponent, you can do that. Target entity you control, you gains barrier till end of turn. It's basically a counter spell. This is how green gets counter spells in Magic the Gathering, more or less. It gives them hexproof, so targeted effects fizzle. This really should have been on a quick cast. It's actually really funny this card isn't quick cast. I'm actually wondering if Cogia will somehow give it quick cast, or there will be a card that will give chance with Force Resonance Moon quick cast. Who knows? And Odin enters the game of gods. I'm going to guess that there's one for Nyarlathotep and one for Loki as well. This one is quick cast. It costs light. Quick cast. Choose 1. And yeah, this has a lot of text, but it's not massive amount. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck. Put 1 of them into your hand. Put 1 of them into your graveyard, and one of them remove 1 of them from the game. So you can set up the grave for the revival effects. You can filter cards into your hand and you give up something. Put X 100 counters on target J Resonator you control, where X is the highest total cost among entities you control. That really refers to the graveyard shenanigans. You'll want to put something high in the grave, revive it, then have that 5 wandering around for this card. Force Resonance Faith. Destroy up to 1 target non-magic stone entity with total cost X or less, where X is the highest total cost amongst entities you control. Which, fine. Again, this destroys the ordered J-rollers with costs. And I'm sorry, Lucy's barking because it's dinner time. I've been working at this all afternoon and I've got to get her dinner. So, what do I think of the new cluster? From what we've seen, I think it's a step in the right direction. I know that's going to rub some people in my Discord the wrong way, but I actually like what I'm seeing. I think the power level looks more in line with Alice Origins. I like the flavor and the theming surrounding the ruler instead of mechanics like tag. I think the cards themselves look fun. I'm having a lot of fun with Pharaoh Yugi to Triple H here. She's probably the only ruler from Set 1 I'm interested in anyway. Yeah, I like what I'm seeing. I don't have anything to be upset about. I have some concerns that power level might go up radically over time. I have some concerns they might have to because I don't see how this competes with tag, and if It doesn't compete with tag. I don't think people will buy it, which means sales may slump. If you don't like this cluster, if you genuinely do not like it, I'm actually really curious to hear why. Please say so in the comments. I want to know what's wrong with it. Because, again, rulers that really don't do anything, even the Alice Origin ones, when they're ignited by the Regalia, they did something. These don't do anything. Yeah, you give the J rule, well, the Resonator come J ruler, you summon some type of aversion to control, but it's not that big of a deal when everything kills J Resonators anyway. Again, this feels like a return to form. But Saga 1, bar that ruler problem, won a box, was pretty darn good too, so that went downhill quick. Anyway, I'm cautiously optimistic. I like what I'm seeing, I want to see more of it, and I can't wait till the preview tomorrow. I'll probably do a weekly update, likely next Friday. My time, anyway. So anyway, this has been Some Gamer Dude, and thanks for watching.